do you have? Sorry. You're going to share with everyone to share, okay? So you have 282 and 283. You guys are going to share. You guys are a couple. Here we go.
You heard what happened to my leg, right? You heard what happened to my leg, right? You heard what happened to my leg, right? In Europe, what happened to my leg? No, I'm saying you heard what happened to my foot in Europe, right? Oh yeah.
What do you have there? 282.
Hi. What's your name? Diane. Nice to meet you, Esther. I'm Mendel's wife.
Someone to the tea bag. I don't have every copy. We're going to share. You don't need that when you have a pen. We're all going to share over here. Okay, you guys are going to share as well. This much later. You guys are going to share together. Jeffrey, here you go. You guys are going to share together. Okay, so we're getting to 2 or 3. You'll come on in, okay? No big deal.
Are there flyers or handouts?
Yeah, but we're running low over here. I was not expecting such a solid crowd for Soulmates, but we got a good group today.
I was really here 20 minutes ago. There was nobody here.
Wow. Okay. Hey, do you mind? You want to hit it, Adrian? Okay. I want to hit stop and then hit again. I'm not going to do recording. Who wants to feedback? You don't mind? Okay. Okay, welcome everybody. Welcome, welcome. We got a solid subject here tonight. If you don't have a handout sheet, don't worry, because I'm going to talk it through, read it through, so we'll be okay.
Adriana.
Okay. I promise I will read every word, so you're not going to be out. Habibi, you're good? Okay. If you have it, great. And I see we're already sharing. I was expecting maybe we got a nice crowd. There's a few minyanim we have here tonight. Okay, good. Okay. Thank you, everybody, for coming. And it happens to be that Bashert has it that we have sitting amongst us a chassan kala, bride and groom that I'm going to marry in less than 14 days. Bezat Hashem. I'm so excited. Say him at the right night. Okay, here we go. Adrian and Yaron, last of the Okay, soulmate is a very heavy topic. There's no reason for it to be heavy. There's no reason for it to be intense. It's supposed to be happy, like on a wedding day, right, Adrian? I'm happily married for how long has it now? 17 years. God bless my wife.
Who's your wife? That's your wife?
That's my wife Esther, mother of our 6 kids. We're very happy. Now, there are 2 sources and 2 levels when we speak about the subject of soulmate. In Judaism, there are always 2 levels for every topic. There's the Talmud level. The paper you have in front of you is from the Talmud. The Talmud is a book from the times of the Second Temple, roughly, speaking about rabbis even from the First Temple era. And that is what we call mainstream Judaism. The rabbis from the Talmud were not orthodox, they were not conservative, they were not reformed. Moses was not an orthodox Jew. Judaism was Judaism. So the Talmud is what all Jewish people study in any yeshiva. So we studied this when we were in school, so that's one level. The other level is the level of Kabbalah, which we do not study in school until we got older. That's a bit deeper, sometimes more complicated, sometimes more abstract, but most of the times more meaningful. Because the Talmud primarily tells us what we could do, what we can't do. How we observe Shabbat, how we don't observe Shabbat. What's considered a good husband, what's not considered a good husband, and things of that nature. How does one get married? The Kabbalah is telling us the meaning of why we should get married. Who is our soulmate? Who created souls in the first place? Who is the ultimate matchmaker? And things of that nature. And we'll get to that at the end of the class, the second part of the class. Okay, so in your handout on page 2A2, okay? I'm going to read it because some of you guys don't have. So this is basically page 1, even though it says 2A2, don't get confusing. We always like to make it confusing. Don't get confused. It's page 1 of Tractate Sota, if you're watching it at home on our Facebook Live here. So on page 2A2, it says the following. You're with me for those who have the paper. I'm reading now from the bottom right, above the line on page 2A2. Okay, if you can see where my finger is, on your handout sheet, that's where I'm reading from. Rabbi Shmuel, Bar of Yitzchak, Rabbi Shmuel, the son of Yitzchak, stated that when Reish Lakish would open his lecture on the biblical passage of Sota, so when this rabbi in the yeshiva would open up a discussion about a certain topic in the yeshiva, he said thus: the heavenly court, the heavenly court, peers a woman to a man for marriage in accordance with his deeds. This is what this great rabbi, this great leader of the Jewish people, made a blanket statement. Let's read it again. The heavenly court peers a man and a woman for marriage accordance with his deeds. That's a blanket statement. Let's go to the next page, on page 2A3. It's going the wrong way over here. Okay. Give me a second. You see where I'm pointing to on page 2A3, second paragraph? Rabbi Bar Chana said in the name of Rabbi Yochanan, and it is difficult for the omnipresent to match up a man and a woman for marriage as it was to accomplish the splitting of the Red Sea. That's quite a statement. So what's the second statement? It's as difficult for God to peer up a man and a woman. I just read this from page 2A3. If you have it, great. If you don't, I'm just stating it. So again, that's the statement. It's as difficult for God to peer up a man and a woman as it was for him to split the Red Sea. So what's statement number 1 that we just said? Jeffrey, what's statement number 1? What was statement 1 we read?
It's difficult for God to pair a man and a woman.
Okay, that was statement 2. What was statement number 1?
The one was that the man merits the wife that he gets by his good deeds in the heavenly court.
Okay, so just to clarify, the heavenly court, they are the ultimate matchmaker. They peer up man and woman based on their deeds. Statement 2, it's as difficult for God to peer up a man and a woman as it is to split the Red Sea. Good? So far so good, right? Okay, continuing on page 2A3, the Talmud challenges us. Here's the challenge. The Talmud says, how can you say something like this? It's challenging statement 1, that God peers man and woman based on their deeds. How can you say this? But Rabbi Yehuda said in the name of Rav, 40 days before the formation of an embryo, a heavenly voice issues forth and proclaims the following: the daughter of so-and-so is destined for so-and-so. Now there's Esther Schwartz is destined for Mendel Schwartz. This particular house is destined for so-and-so. I live in Hancock Park, that's reserved for Esther and Mendel Schwartz. This particular field is destined for so-and-so. This slot, this cubicle to work at a law firm is destined for whoever's supposed to be working there. If you're supposed to be in fashion design, destined, it says field. We don't have fields, we're not farmers anymore. So that means whatever your business is, You're supposed to be in journalism. You're supposed to be an actress. So fill in the blank. So that's what it declares. So what's the challenge here? What's the tension here? Where's the challenge?
To figure out what it is.
Very
You're
good.
destined to.
Very good. The Talmud challenges the first statement that the heavenly court peers up man and woman. And then we have a challenge, but the heavenly court already decided 40 days before the embryo, and it already decided X, Y, and Z. Who's going to be married to who? What kind of job are you going to get? Are you going to make $75,000 in 2018? Or is it going to be $120,000? Or is it going to be $30,000? What kind of job? Are you going to be a lawyer? Are you going to be a fashion designer? All these things, basically, according to the challenge of the Talmud, is destined before you're even born. So how does the Talmud say that you're peered up based on your deeds?
Yeah.
That's the challenge. That's what the Talmud is asking. So in other words, on the first statement of the Talmud, we're thinking now about the topic of soulmate. The first statement is if Mendel Schwartz is a good guy, and he listens to his parents, and he smiles, and he doesn't rip off, whatever it is, then the Talmud says he's going to find the most beautiful woman, who's also honest, who's also a mensch, and Mendel Schwartz is deserving of such a princess. That's what the Talmud tells us. That's what the heavenly court decides. I'm going to pair up a man to a woman based on their deeds. But if it's based on deeds, how does that make sense? Because we know in Judaism that God, 40 days prior even to us being born, God already decides who's going to be matched up with who. That means
He knows
that He knows already, irrelevant of our deeds, which means I could be the biggest schlemazel, the biggest schwanz, the most dishonest person, and I'm still going to be paired up with someone that God decided, irrelevant of our deeds. So which way does it go? Is it based on the first statement, based on our deeds, and that's the person you're going to find? Or is it predestined for the beginning of time? Already when Adam and Eve were already born, thousands of years ago, there were millions of souls floating up there in the heavens, and God said, one day in 2018, I'm going to have this guy hook up with that guy. And December 2004, I'm going to have Esther Schwartz marry Mendel Schwartz. So if it's predestined from thousands of years ago, then it's irrelevant of how I acted when I was in yeshiva, and how I acted when I was. So make up your mind. So how does it go? Anyone have a question so far? Go ahead.
So now, when someone gets married, gets divorced, and gets remarried, is that predestined?
That's a fabulous question. Very good. So what happens when someone gets married and it ends in divorce? What happened there? I thought God is the ultimate matchmaker. That's a fabulous question. We'll get to it. Okay.
So maybe God knows what your deeds are going to be before you're born.
Maybe God knows what your deeds are going to be before you're born. And that's how He pairs it up.
Yeah.
What is your name?
Diane.
Diane, fabulous question.
Maybe there is more than one way to find the person. Maybe if you go to the right side, you're gonna go faster. But if you go to the wrong, when not with God, it's gonna take longer to achieve to find your soulmate.
He's saying God also allows some shortcuts in the game.
Not shortcut, but if you go in the right way, going out with God, you're gonna find easily. But sometimes you go to the wrong way and you can marry a person that's not your soulmate, so you can learn things for this experience, so you can find your soulmate.
We got some great, very good, Adrian. Go ahead.
I'm not clear because I'm seeing all that. Is the question why is it that when you get a divorce?
That's not the question. That was a side question. The issue that we're discussing in the Talmud. This is a conversation that's taking place thousands of years ago by the Moseses of those times. And there was a statement that was made in the Talmud that we are paired, man and woman, based on our deeds. If I act like a mensch, comes time for marriage, 35 years old, I will marry a mensch. If I'm a ganav, if I'm a thief, and I'm a swindler, then I'm going to marry such a person. That's what that statement in the Talmud said. That it's based on our deeds. However, we have a challenge. The Talmud challenges that statement, says, excuse me, Rabbi, the Talmud says, we know from a Kabbalistic source that God preordains who we get married to irrelevant of our deeds on planet Earth. Which means we are going to marry Abba Shert whether we act favorably or negatively for those years until we started to date. So do we find our ultimate match based on how we acted, or is it irrelevant? Right, that's fine. Okay, that is what the Talmud is trying to dissect here. The Talmud answers it right away. Let's continue. And then we'll break this out a bit further. Page 283, bottom right. The Talmud says, this is not a question at all. And now this is what Ariello Farnaz, right? This is what Farnaz was saying. This is not a question at all, says the Talmud, because one discussion is talking about the first match, the first union, the first marriage. No, the first marriage in a person's life.
So the Talmud is saying there's more than one marriage?
Which means God preordains from the beginning of time, thousands of years ago, who's going to get married to each other. That statement is qualified and is quantified based on people's first marriage. And if it works, great. Your bashert was successful based on what God preordained for you. So we fulfilled God's match. However, when there is a second match, i.e. your marriage ends in divorce and you get remarried, that is based on our deeds, which was the first statement that we mentioned in the Talmud. That's how the Talmud simply breaks it down. First marriage, second marriage.
What about third marriage?
What about third marriage, Grant? The Talmud wasn't as progressive back then, but it's a very good point. Okay. Your name again was?
Diane.
Diana. Diana mentioned something very important to this discussion.
Diana, that's
Why is this a question at all? And the Talmud was trying to make two separate points. Either your marriage is based on your deeds, how you acted, or your marriage is based on how God decided this thousands of years ago, irrelevant in our deeds. Diana asked a very good question. God could have decided who I should marry based on our deeds thousands of years later. So there's no question here. God decided who I'm going to marry from the beginning of time, from the 6 days of creation. He created Adam and Eve, and He also put in His mathematic brains, as it were, all the thousands and millions and billions of souls that would ever be created. And He's going to put them together based on how their deeds, many, many years later. So Diana asked a very good question. Rashi, the great commentator, asked the same exact question. However, because we believe, Jewish people, in free choice, and we can always decide if I want to be good or not so good, we were uncomfortable with answering it that way. That God, from the beginning of time, matches us up based on how we're going to act thousands of years later. Because there's one thing, says the Talmud, that is absolutely in our control. And that's if I want to be a good individual today, or if I don't want to be a good individual today. There's some things that we have no free choice about. But what we absolutely have absolute control over our life is if I'm going to be kind or not kind. If I'm going to listen to my parents today or not. If I'm going to put a nickel in the charity box or not. If I'm going to give change back to the teller at Starbucks because they made a mistake, whatever it is, this is completely up to me. How do we know this? Look at your second handout sheet. There's a small page. I'll let you guys share it over here. This is a bit graphic of a piece of Talmud. This is a bit abstract, it's a bit graphic, so excuse, Talmud doesn't typically speak thus, but we're in a Talmudic discussion, so we're going to hold no bar here. Ready? In the first paragraph over here, I'm going to read this aloud, okay? The angel appointed to oversee the conception of new embryos is named Layla. Anytime a new embryo is kicking in, there's this angel called Layla. You think this is Kabbalistic, but this is actually straight from the Talmud. The angel takes a drop of semen from which a child will be conceived and sets it before the Holy One, blessed be He, referring to God, and says before God, Master of the universe, will this child, what is its destiny? I'm now in the second paragraph. Will the person who develops from it be mighty or weak? Will this be a strong child or a weak child? Will this person grow up to be strong or will this person grow up to be weak? The angel continues to ask, will it be wealthy or will it be poor? So in other words, if I'm going to win the lottery in 30 years from now, this was all decided between God and this angel Layla. And other things that are discussed as to what kind of job this person will have or not, second job, third job, fourth job. This is basically, we don't have free choice. This is all preordained from the beginning of time. However, says the Talmud notes that the angel omits mentioning of one quality. The angel does not mention whether this child is destined to be wicked or righteous. Because this is absolutely in our control. That's the one thing that God and the angels do not conspire. And thus, God couldn't, from the beginning of time, decide if us two should one day meet based on our deeds. Because our deeds is completely in our control. And that's why the Talmud answers our first marriage, our bashert, based on God being the matchmaker from the beginning of time, irrelevant of our deed, just consider it match one. And if it ends in divorce and there's a remarriage, that's called, then you have a match two, which is based on our deeds. I'm not going to read the footnote 40, which is in your page, which is extremely long, but I'll just add that match one and match two does not necessarily mean your first marriage and your second marriage. I don't want anyone to think that that's what it means. It could mean that, but there's a lot of commentary in footnote 40. If you have the sheet, you could read it. Because there's many people, for example, that he's going on his second marriage, but she's on her first marriage to the same guy. So how does that work? And what Adrian was saying as well before, there is certain situations, I want to quote the individual that did it. It was the Meiri, I just wanted to quote his name. The Talmud, some people translate, it doesn't mean first marriage or second marriage, but first choice and second choice. Okay, so you can be on your second choice, and it could be, you know, so I just don't want people to think that it ends in you go on your second marriage, so it means that God has nothing to do with it. No. It's first choice, second choice, they're both coming from a very higher source. I just wanted to put that out there. There's a cute little story that happened with Esther and I, if she's up for sharing.